My name is Colonel Retired Gregory Gadson. I'm a 26-year veteran of the United States Army. I was never had any designs per se of making an Army a career, but I was fortunate to be recruited to play football at Army, and I just wanted to play football honestly at the highest level, and so this was my best and only opportunity. So. This put me on the path of being in the military. I am the oldest of three siblings. My parents are both Howard University graduates who grew up in the segregated South, went to segregated schools, and so I'm their first of three kids, and so. I would just have to say, as a child born in the 60s, and them being in Washington, D.C. in the middle of the 60s, as I kind of reflect, as not as a memory, but, they lived through the very times that we are experiencing now. And sometimes you kind of, at least for me, kind of wonder rhetorically, how much progress we've made, and certainly we've made a lot of progress. There's a lot of things that cannot happen in a society that used to happen back then, but we'd also hope that we've come further along than we have, and my kind of take on the challenges that we have in our society is that we've we in some ways we haven't addressed the fundamental roots, and in a lot of ways we're trying to make rules, we're trying to legislate a man's heart, a person's heart, and we can't do that. I mean, you can tell me the rules I need to follow and what's illegal and what's not legal, but that doesn't necessarily change what's in a person's heart, and that's the heart of the matter. I mean,
absolutely.
We have a constitution, a preamble that says, all men or all people are created equal. Yet we're continuing to have to give me rights that are already given, and those are, I think, at the root of our challenges. Maybe at a different point in my life, I have to be honest and frank, is that, if I was 20-something, if I was 30-something, maybe my voice would be more silent. But at the same time, I also have to give myself a little bit of room. I'm 54, and I've got a lot more life experiences. And so that is one of the things that's empowered me. And so I don't feel like I'm shying away from the conversation. I'm having conversations with all and any of my friends about their perspectives, and we're really willing to challenge their knowledge, their understanding, their perspectives, because I just recently took a 3-week road trip. Traveled 5,000, nearly 6,000 miles in 3 weeks, all the way out as far as Utah, and not the timing of this wasn't based upon the challenges that we were having in our society. It was sort of an opportunity. Didn't think it was best to fly, and so I ended up driving, and I picked up one of my friends for a week along, and he was a classmate of mine. We stopped by the George Floyd Memorial. We went through, just the experience, and so I come away with this idea that so many times now in our society we're arguing from absolute rights and wrongs, and really it's really about our challenges to infuse our society with the experiences of everybody, because no one really owns the truth. I mean, if you give me a second here, used to do this with my unit when I was in the Army.
Yeah.
I would hold up a quarter. And when I hold up a quarter, I said, everybody here knows what I'm holding up, but everybody sees something different. And we're all telling the truth. And so that's the approach that we've got to take with this. I can sit here and say it's black or white, whether it's racism or something's unfair, but that's just one perspective. And unless we're willing to kind of meet in the middle, unless we're willing to kind of acknowledge our shortcomings as a nation, and how we can come together to fix it versus, pointing at somebody saying you're wrong or you don't know what I'm going through. All that all that does is it buries the point. And that's what I kind of picked up. Long way to tell you. That's a long way what I picked up in my trip and in my conversations with all sorts of people, and is that it's going to take us all. We all got to own it, and we all got to work together. I have experienced it, not a whole lot. I'll tell you that my time at Fort Bragg and in the 82nd Airborne Division, I was one of less than a handful of minority captains in the division artillery, and so you kind of sometimes wonder, how does that happen? Later on, I would learn as I got more mature in it, is that the Army at the time, this is the 90s, they managed racial balance by installation. So from an aggregate level, you could see a more balanced number, but when you dove down into the organizations, they became the balance was much less. Is that an accident? Is that racism, or is it just coincidence? I mean, I'm not here to indict our Army, but at the same time, I say it goes well beyond coincidence. I can expand there. But one instance that I thought as I was leaving the 82nd Airborne Division, had a white officer peer that was a friend of mine. I was PCSing or moving to Northern Virginia, and he said he had a friend that could help me find a realtor, and so as my wife did her school research and found some schools that were in neighborhoods that we might want to live in. I called the individual that my friend gave me, and told him who I was and how I got his number. And as I started to talk to him about the neighborhoods, he started to steer me away from them because he assumed that I was white. And so, this is in 1998, and it was, it was a clear indication of an agenda of it. And, I listened to him and I never called him back, but, it was very hardening. I just was like, I can't believe we're still having to deal with this. But it is. Now, I'm not indicting a system, but I mean, obviously this guy felt comfortable talking to me in this matter, and a professional realtor, of professions, doesn't do this. This is no accident. If you're a minority, if you're in a formation and you got all these people bombarding you with questions, look, you just want to do your job. You just want to be treated with dignity and respect. I think it's I think we've got to create and the military does a good job. First of all, I believe we do a good job of really kind of stripping away the varnish. They don't care where you're from. They don't care what you look like. Because in order for us to be successful, all that stuff has to be stripped away, and we got to be unified. But over time, I say the varnish starts to build up, and people start to form their groups and go to their corners and be around people that are, let's just say, like-minded. What that looks like can be very different from place to place. We've got to encourage. We got to continue to encourage diversity. We got to continue to continue to look at ourselves and make sure that we are, reflective of our society and of our force, and that opportunity is reflective. I mean, I would say that talent resides in all social, economic, racial categories at the same ratios. And so if things are out of skew and out of thing, we should have people of the majority asking themselves, why are things kind of coming out this way? Why do things look this way? And I think in some cases we naively feel like, look, I don't have hatred in my heart. I do the right thing, and everybody around me is. But, statistically, you'd say, 1 out of 10 of your 10 of your peers is probably not on the level. I mean, and that's probably the low end of it. But if you don't have that perspective, how do we educate people about the perspectives and biases? And so I think we got to continue to push the envelope and be innovative and peel at these scabs. And I think different than in times past is understand that this is a continuous operation. We're not going to heal this in a year, in 10 years, in 5 years. And in fact, you could argue that we've maybe in some ways gone backwards.